session that English cricket will remember for a long, long time. There is the fitting farewell that everyone hoped Alistair Cook would script. He's done it, a 33rd international 100 for him that gives him a little bit of space ahead of Stephen Waugh and breaks into the top 10 of Test century getters. He's already gone past Kumar Sangakkara to enter the top 5 run getters in the history of the game. It's all about England and Alistair Cook on the lunchtime show on ESPN Cricket for Matchday. Ajit Agarkar can feel what the Indian bowlers are feeling. Toby Rowland-Jones, I'm sure, is delighted for the man they call Chef. Let's start with, the perfect end to a wonderful guy as well.
Yeah, I mean, a 50 and 100 in your last test after having such a staggering career. Not many people get that sort of farewell. It's, you could see the overriding emotion, in that dressing room, in the crowd. And as a player, I'm sure Toby will back me on that. There'll be people who sometimes will like you, sometimes may not like you. People on the outside will talk, criticize you or say good things about you. But eventually it's the players in the dressing room you play against, or the guys you play or play with or against, is their opinion matters to you the most. And you can see that dressing room.
Absolutely.
I mean, tells you how much respect they have for Cook and how well liked he is by the other players, which makes this 100 even more special.
Yeah, we saw it from the dressing room, we saw it from the ovation that the Oval gave him, we saw it from Joe Root, who was delighted for him. I'm sure, Toby, you too shared that sentiment as a man who shared the dressing room and looked up to Alistair Cook. It couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, could it?
Absolutely. It was a really special moment, actually, the ovation, and it really sort of captured all the emotion of the occasion, really. And for someone who we see as so calm, you could even see sort of little cracks appearing on his face as well. But I mean, it was a pretty special reaction, and I think Ajit put it perfectly. The way that the dressing room reacted is often pretty much a telltale of what the player means and has meant over the last 12 years. So it was really special to watch, and certainly, as someone who's had the pleasure of playing with him, I certainly also was feeling the emotion.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel for India, but they're at the receiving end of a story that even Indian cricket fans would not mind in cricket.
Yeah, just those 11 guys on the field would not enjoy that. No, I mean, look, it's worked hard for that innings, played really well in that first innings as well. Typical Cook 100. I mean, a lot more aggressive this morning when, basically India, you can feel India's done and dusted in this test series. All that effort the bowlers have put in. Today was a tough day. They tried hard, but it was all about Alistair Cook.
The shame is that the day's only just begun for the Indian fast bowlers. Mel said on the pre-show, Toby, that the ovation for Alistair Cook last evening when he walked out to bat for the final time, that didn't end. We saw a similar sort of unending applause when he got that 100. So much so that you could almost see Alistair Cook. He'd done raising his bat, accepting the applause, hugging Joe Root. All of a sudden, after that, when it didn't stop, he almost looked a little embarrassed. Can you relate to that feeling?
Well, I don't know if I can relate directly to it.
Can you relate to Alistair Cook? What Alistair Cook would have felt. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was pretty special. I mean, it's one thing raising your bat with 20-odd thousand people, applauding you for 30 seconds or so, but it went on for about 3 minutes. And yeah, the one thing that was nice to see is he certainly embraced it and looked like he wanted to soak up that moment. And I'm sure he sort of had a sort of time out there trying to really take it all in, because for your last Test match to go through that and for that to be your final emotion or your final piece, if you like, must have felt pretty special for him.
I mean, we take away all the emotion from it as well. The fact that the intent from England was excellent from the start of the morning. There was a good spell from Bumrah to start with, but both Cook and Root have looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think Bumrah was really good this morning. I quite liked his approach, trying to bang in a few shots, because I think most of the times, Joe Root in particular was trying to get on the front foot. Did disturb his sort of footwork a little bit. Maybe overdid it a little bit. Of short stuff, because he could have easily tried a few more full balls, but I'd rather have that than not bowl short balls at all. But the two England batters, I mean, two of their best batters, Root, arguably their best batsman at the moment, showed why he's so good and why he's he's talked about so highly. I mean, we haven't seen much of it in this series, but once he's at the crease, makes the bowling look pretty ordinary, even if it's some good bowling on display, because he scores so quickly, puts the owners back on the bowlers, and admittedly a tired bowling attack, behind in the game, mentally a little bit jaded as well after these 5 tests, but can't take anything away from those 2 innings. Really made sure that for once in this test series, from a strong position, made it into a dominant one.
I mean, this is as bad as it can get for a team which has lost the series, whose fast bowlers have played almost the entire series, and now looking at what imminent defeat unless something miraculous happens. But is there any criticism that you can have of India or the captain about the approach, the field settings, anything at all?
Not really. I think it again showed why Ashwin is preferred to Jadeja when India starts overseas series. I think that the limitations are obvious. I mean, even though there is a little bit of help outside the left-handers off stump, he can't quite exploit it because he perhaps doesn't have as much in his armory as Ashwin does.
Yes.
He is, in my opinion, a bit one-dimensional, especially that the pace that he bowls. Every time the ball spins, he's a dangerous bowler, but again showed his limitations. And no, you can't fault them. If you have to have a go at the Indians, it's their batting, not their bowling. I think the bowling's been pretty good most of the series. They've come up against 2 batsmen who batted really well in this innings on a pretty good surface. So can't fault the bowling. I think it's the batting which has let them down.
I mean, Toby, we've watched just about every session ball to ball on television here. That must be the first session where we did not see Virat Kohli or did not hear him. But you can understand that, I guess.
Yeah, it certainly looked like a slightly flattened India spirit, didn't it? I think England's intent, I agree with Ajit completely. I thought Bumrah came out really well and showed a bit of aggression and tried to lift his team. But I think once that spell had passed, I thought the way Root in particular was very proactive to Jadeja, used the crease really well, swept really well, and didn't let him settle and play the holding role. And I think that made it life pretty difficult for Kohli and the Indian team out there, and really meant that England had it their own way and were able to dictate the tempo of the session, if you like, and it certainly seemed to spiral a little bit out of control from there, and the run rate was creeping along pretty nicely as well.
Yeah, sorry, I mean, what is 129 runs scored in that session?
Very quick time.
Very quickly. I mean, again, that's the quality that Joe Root has. A bit like Virat Kohli, or you talk about a Steve Smith or a Williamson. Those sorts of guys, they can score against good bowling pretty quickly when they're on form. And that's what England has probably missed in this series from Joe Root. Fortunately for them, he's come good in this last inning to get some form back. Yeah,
well, he's just a few away himself, the England captain, of a little monkey that'll be off his back, not having scored a test 100 in over a year. There's more than that to offer if you're looking at the position of the match. Stay with us. We'll have a chat with Toby and Ajit as to what could happen in the next session of play after the break on ESPN Cricket for Matchday.
Catch the best of the England-India series on ESPN Cricinfo. Match highlights, clips and...
Good Good to still have you on ESPN Cricket for Matchday. We're continuing to enjoy the story that I'm sure the England team is enjoying right now in their dressing room at lunchtime, celebrating with Alistair Cook, looking forward to Joe Root's 100. It all seems like it can only go one way, this test match. Spending another couple of minutes on Cook, the statistical milestones that he has gone past. He is now the number 5 run getter in the history of the game. You wouldn't have thought it was that approachable when we started this test match, and the form he's had, he needed a lot of runs to go past Kumar Sangakkara, but he's managed to do just that in this test match. Now takes his place amongst just 4 right-hand greats above him. So the left-hander with the most number of runs in the history of the game goes past the slightly more aesthetic Kumar Sangakkara and Brian Lara behind him. I'm just looking at the span of all those players. Tendulkar 24 years, Ponting 17, Kallis 18, Dravid 16. Behind him, Sangha, Lara all 15, 20 years. Alistair Cook 12.
Yeah,
Surely
that's quite incredible.
he can come back at some point.
Yeah, I think couldn't have asked for a better end to his career though. You've got to remember also the only opener in that top 5.
Wow,
You know, faces new ball day in, day out in these conditions to get as many runs as he has. 33 test hundreds. You don't have to say much after you look at those numbers. Anyone who gets anywhere close to that sort of milestone, 161 tests in 12 years. Imagine the kind of pressure you have to go through day in, day out in much shorter space and go and open the innings and face the best bowlers in the world. So incredible. Deserve that ending.
I mean, you have to go all the way down to number 12 on that innings for the next opener, which is Sunil Gavaskar. At one point, you thought Gavaskar would never be 12th on that list, but that's just how it's gone. I don't know how much Alistair Cook cares about records and milestones. Maybe you can tell me a bit more about him, Toby. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's keeping track of where he finishes on the list. But is this something that would be on his mind that, oh, that was nice to end up in the top 5, or does he not care at all about where he ends up in all-time lists?
Well, I don't think he's someone who's paid too much attention to those sorts of things throughout his career. But I guess, you know, with this being his final game and wanting to go out on a high, I guess it does maybe give him a little bit of time to reflect on a pretty special effort. You know, being in the top 5 run scorers in the history of the Test game and being the highest placed opener, it's a pretty formidable achievement. And you know, in that time he's faced some, you know, probably some of the best bowling attacks that there have been. So, yeah, it's a pretty remarkable achievement. I wouldn't say he's spent a great deal of time dwelling on things like that during his career, but I think he's earned the right maybe over the next month or so, you know, following retirement to really reflect. And, yeah, he should be pretty proud of what he's achieved.
Right. Who is to say that he can't add a few more to that? Maybe a double 100 to send him off. Are we getting greedy? But he can't go any higher than 5. But you don't rule it out. Now, 2 fast bowlers with me. You're down in the series. Everything seems to be going the opposition's way. There's limited help in the pitch. You're 283 behind. What do you do?
Well, the new ball's due. So, no, look, I think this Indian bowling unit's done themselves proud throughout this series. Yeah, okay, the lower orders come and trouble them on more than a few occasions. But apart from that, I think they've troubled every English batsman. And I don't think there was any less effort put in today's spell. The new ball hopefully gives them after the break a little bit more, you know, and if they can prize out 2 or 3 wickets, will just give them that little energy they need. But at the moment, you can sense that India is quite flat. All they need is a few wickets.
I think the intent we know, Toby. England are going to try and get as many as they can. But is there a number they've got in mind? At least 400 or at least 350?
I don't know whether there'd be a number. I mean, it's pretty formidable having Bairstow, Butler and Stokes still to come in. So they'll feel like quick runs, you know, are there for them if they can keep going the way they are. And certainly I would have thought they'd want, you know, at least an hour at this Indian batting lineup tonight. So, yeah, I think they'll play sensibly for about the first half of this session and then look to really attack from there.
Is that the way to look at it now? You need about 3.5 sessions to be sure of getting a result.
Yeah, and also a bit more wear and tear on that pitch. Moeen Ali might come into play. So, yeah, I don't think they'll put a number. I think it'll be how many overs they want to bowl at India eventually. So, and you'd look at about 4 sessions ideally, but at least 3.5.
All right. Many thanks, Ajit. Many thanks, Toby. Let's sit back and continue watching this great film that we've gotten for us, the Alistair Cook story, the picture that's having its perfect ending. Let's see how many more we can get. Joe Root also approaching 100. Join us for our tea time show. Should be a good one on day 4 of this test match. Until then, bye-bye.